Black Wings forum, I had always been fascinated by the dark and morbid side of the internet, going places most people didn't dare to explore. It wasn't just curiosity, it was a craving for knowledge that seemed forbidden. I've spent countless nights scrolling through forums, encountering conspiracy theories, illicit marketplaces, and discussions that blurred the line between fiction and reality. But nothing had ever captivated me like what I discovered last night. It began innocuously enough. I stumbled upon a thread on an obscure forum called the Black Wings. The name intrigued me, and the subheader only deepened this. For those who seek who can be sought. The forum appeared invitation only until I received an email from a stranger with a single cryptic message. Not all chains are meant to last. The posts were heart-racing and unsettling. Discussions ranged from pre-Babylonian text to spells, but one thread stood out. It was pinned to the top, titled simply, "The Fallen." I clicked it. The thread was filled with strange symbols and archaic phrases, but as I read it, the crux of it was clear. Whoever was in charge of this forum claimed that fallen angels, demons, or whatever you call them, are not a myth, and not only were they cast out of heaven, but cast away as prisoners on this earth, chained in hidden angelic vaults, not able to wreak havoc on anyone or anything. The coordinates to some of these prisons had allegedly been uncovered and were being stored in the thread. Most of the responses called it a hoax, but a few posters claimed to have visited the locations. Their comments stood out like bleeding wounds. I heard the whispering before I saw the symbols. They know your name. Do not break the seals. It's not salvation as they promise. I can't sleep anymore. They follow me. And they will follow you too if you let them. In that moment I felt pure fear reading, but I couldn't tear myself away. The thread contained a list of coordinates, each accompanied by descriptions detailing abandoned cathedrals, desolate caves, or forgotten ruins. One entry caught my eye, a set of coordinates leading to an old coal mine, less than 50 miles from where I lived. The post described the site as an abandoned shaft that had been closed since the early 1900s. Locals whispered about miners who had lost their minds during the mine's operation, claiming they had heard something growling deep below. The poster insisted the mine was one of the prisons, its depths sealed with angelic markings. My heart raced. I told myself it was absurd, just another internet hoax. But the idea of seeing it with my own eyes was irresistible. I had nothing to lose, my job laid me off, and my social life was on pause. If there was even a sliver of truth to the story, it would be a discovery unlike any other. The next afternoon, armed with a flashlight, a crowbar, and a growing sense of unease, I drove to the coordinates. The mine lay hidden in a patch of overgrown forest, its entrance half collapsed and smothered. A weathered sign hung on a rusted gate. Danger. Do not enter. I climbed the gate and pushed forward, my flashlight slicing through the gloom. The air grew colder as I descended into the tunnel, the faint smell of rot wafting from somewhere deeper. Broken beams and discarded tools litter around, remnants of lives long gone. After what felt like an eternity of navigating claustrophobic passageways, I found it. The chamber was massive, its walls lined with unworldly symbols carved into blackened stone. In the center stood a pedestal, and atop it rested what looked like a massive metallic plate. Shiny and heavy, it looked as if it hasn't aged, and strangely warm to the touch, with heavy glowing chains emitting almost a humming. Anchoring it to the pedestal, my chest caught in my throat. This was it. This was real. The so-called prison. I moved closer, running my fingers over the markings. They were intricate, pulsating with energy. As I examined them, the air seemed to hum, growing denser with each passing second. That was when I noticed the sound, a faint, rhythmic whisper. Just on the edge of hearing was my name being called. My hands shaking as I stumbled back, my flashlight dropping to the ground. The whispers grew louder. I told myself it wasn't real, that it was my imagination, but an overpowering curiosity overwhelmed my fear. What if something was truly imprisoned here? What if I could see it, speak to it? The crowbar was in my hand before I could stop myself. I wedged it beneath the chains and began to pry. The links groaned and splintered, the chain snapping like brittle bones. As the final chain fell to the ground, the hum turned into a deafening roar, and the metallic plate cracked down the middle. I stumbled back, shielding my eyes as a blinding light erupted from the pedestal, and then, silence. When I opened my eyes, a towering figure stood before me, its skeletal wings spread wide, feathers dripping shadows that seemed to consume the light. Its face was obscured by an infinite dark, its form both beautiful and horrifying, clad in decaying battle armor mimicking that of a horrible Roman legionnaire. The being hissed, its voice a symphony of despair, hatred and ecstasy. The entire chamber trembled as it stepped forward. I tried to scream, but no sound came. The entity turned its hollow gaze on me, and I felt my mind unravel. The next thing I remember, I woke up in the hospital being told that I was discovered running around like a madman, crazed like I've seen hell itself. I was released from the hospital later that night, with no injuries. The whispers call me. I don't sleep. I have this feeling of fear always behind me. I'm worn down. I'm gonna try to rest and find a solution tomorrow. Please take my advice and do not seek those that seek us.